Aloha and good evening, everybody from Hawaii. My name is Amanda Ellis, and I'm your moderator for this wonderful panel of We Empower Asia Pacific finalists for our 2020 competition. Let me tell you a little bit about We Empower. The We stands for Women Entrepreneurs, and the full title is the We Empower United Nations Sustainable Development Goal Challenge. And for all of you who are joining us now, these incredible women are supporting at least one and sometimes more of the Sustainable Development Goals through their business endeavors. And we have with us this evening as well partners who help support the challenge, Vital Voices Global Partnership, who is co-lead. We have also soon joining us Jen Nielsen from Echo World, who is just wrapping up another session. We have the East-West Center Changing Faces program, and we have Blue Planet Startups, which is based here in Hawaii, and then Dentons, which is the world's largest law firm. So we'd like to thank all of those partners and their friends, colleagues who are going to be joining us tonight through this incredible hour. I wanted to start with a quote that really inspired me from an article I read recently, written by Melinda Gates. And in referring to COVID-19, which of course has upended all of our worlds and has had an even more severe impact on women than on men, she says, "This is how we can emerge from the pandemic in all its dimensions, by recognizing that women are not just victims of a broken system, they can be architects of a better one." And that for me sums up so well the incredible spirit and talent of the women that we have with us tonight who will be presenting, who have incredibly innovative ideas and have created their businesses as a real force for good in the world. So without further ado, I am going to turn first to Alison Price from Australia. Alison is the founder and managing director of Soil Cyclists, which is a business working with construction and waste in the mining industry. And she's the only business of her kind in Australia, and as we know it, the only one in the world, but hoping that when more people learn about what she's doing, this will go global and become a trend. So the mission of Soil Cyclists is to make on-site recycling business as usual. So by providing innovative, cost-effective, and planet-saving solutions that can reduce the use of virgin resources, avoid the risk of importing contamination to sites, and transform on-site waste into reusable materials. And I was absolutely amazed when I read Alison's application that there are 30,000 truckloads of waste being taken off local roads as a result of the some 500,000 cubic meters of soil that is recycled every year. The other really cool thing about Alison's business is that she is, in fact, the CEO, and it is very much a focus on women employees as well. So Alison, congratulations on being the Asia Pacific awardee for 2020. Welcome, and tell us all about your business and how you have managed to pivot through COVID.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. I think you've given a very good summary, actually, Amanda. We take waste soil and we change the physical, chemical, and biological properties of that waste soil to turn it into something that companies would normally buy from a quarry. So that might be topsoil to make things grow, or a structural fill material, or it might be dealing with a contamination issue to divert that material from landfills. So we can remediate PFAS contaminated soil with asbestos contamination, acid sulfate soils, and all kinds of different contamination. So COVID has been an interesting time to be a business owner, employing lots of staff and with lots of large machines and large bank repayments to be made. While construction and mining and waste have all been considered essential industries in Australia, we did have many of our contracts were postponed and delayed. We're starting to come out the other side now, and we're actually getting busy again, which is really exciting. And during the that downtime, I've had a chance to think a little bit more strategically, to spend a little bit less time on planes and in airport lounges tripping all over the country, and to work on my business, which has been really useful. I'll hand back to you, Amanda.
Much. And now I'm going to introduce our next 4 panelists, and then we'll go one by one. So we have with us Radhika Chowdhury, who is the Director and CFO of Raikon Panels from India. Brianna West, unfortunately, the founder and chief executive of Etique, is on a plane as we speak, which was rescheduled. And so we will show some slides and tell Brianna's story at the end of the session. Next, we have Sasibai Kimis, who is the founder and CEO of Earth Air Partners from Malaysia. And Lee Jian Lee, who is the COO of Reach 52 from Singapore. So we have an incredible group from right across the region. And we're going to move next to Radhika. If you could unmute and tell us a little bit about your business and how you take that incredible plastic waste and turn it into eco-friendly, cost-effective substitutes for common building materials. I was just amazed when I read this, Radhika, because it seems as though you're actually able to recycle some of the plastics which are not normally recyclable. And when I read that you had removed 7 million kilograms of plastic waste from the environment and saved 100,000 trees from being cut down, I was super excited. So we're really looking forward to hearing more about your business and the incredible technology that you're using.
Thank you, Amanda, for a very kind introduction. I'm extremely excited and honored to be part of this cohort of excellent women. I'm going to try to make the session as interactive as I can. So what is the biggest threat to the environment today? It is the generation of waste plastics, and of 8.3 billion tons of that humanity has generated, 6.3 billion tons is waste. And one of the reasons why this waste is just lying around and it is uncollected, is because there is no viable and efficient recycling technique. Most of this waste is packaging plastics, which is made up of multi-layers, that is more than one layer of plastic. And that's why it cannot be granulated using a traditional recycling technique. So we consume this plastic waste and convert it into building materials that are superior and economically substitute to plywood. We've done projects where entire houses have been made of this material, from doors, walls, flooring, furniture to roofing. And we've sold all across India. We've exported globally. Our vision is to expand not only to other locations within India, but to really take this technology globally and help contribute and help communities that don't have a solution to this problem. You know, we recycle plastic that comes out of pharmaceutical industries, from automobile industries, from packaging industries, from cabling industries, and many such more. So we truly have a solution, and this plastic waste is the reason why our rivers are getting choked, our oceans are getting choked, land is getting polluted, and once this plastic is incinerated, our air is polluted as well. You know, recently we were awarded for our technology by the World Wildlife Fund from India for our innovation. So this product really supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We help fight climate change, as this product is a substitute to plywood, which is one of the biggest causes of deforestation in the world today. We support responsible consumption, responsible production, and innovation in technology. One of a really exciting application that we did during COVID times is that we built portable toilets made from recycled plastic that we supplied to the doctors and nurses during COVID. So I'm extremely happy and kind of empowered to be part of the solution, and I hope to take it globally. I'm extremely honored. Thank you, Amanda, for giving me this platform and reaching out to you all. Thank you.
Much, Radhika, and we're going to have another round, and there'll be lots of questions from the floor, so lots of opportunities. So exciting to hear that your aim is to export. And I know Lee Jen Lee, I'm going to call you Lee Jen, thank you, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Reach 52, has been super active during COVID. This is an award-winning tech social enterprise that provides affordable healthcare for over half of the world. It's 52% of the world that doesn't have access to health services. And during a global pandemic, that is really frightening. So we're so interested to hear about how you have managed to pivot during COVID and what the longer-term aims of this very innovative tech platform are. So Lee Jen, Reach 52, please take it away.
Hi everyone. Hi Amanda. Good morning. I'm based in Singapore. It's about 11 a.m. here. I'm very happy and excited to be invited to this platform to share a little bit more about Reach 52. I think in a nutshell, Reach 52 is called 52%, as Amanda said, because we have very ambitious aims to reach out to 52% of the world population that doesn't yet have access to health. And we got 52% from a World Health Organization report. So some of my friends will ask, well, what if it falls down to 50% or 49%, and then you may not be relevant anymore? But I think that's exactly what we hope to do, to really reduce the percentage. And what we work in communities is really focusing on bringing healthcare as well as financial services to these rural communities. I think the thing that's distinctive about our app is really that, in places that we operate in, mainly Philippines, Cambodia, as well as India, a lot of these communities do not have internet connection. So our app works by being able to have online as well as offline connections. So we're able to collect data, and when there is internet connection, it then is able to sync up to the servers. So we tie up with pharmaceutical companies such as Novartis, Zulik Pharma, as well as distributors to directly negotiate discounted medicines as well as general health and wellness products from their portfolio. And then therefore we are able to offer it at a cheaper price because we cut out the middlemen, the distributors, the pharmacies, and bring it directly to the residents. I think we also try to bring on a part of the education part, so people with chronic diseases are able to understand why it is so important for them to take their medicines regularly. Why is it important to maintain their health screenings, take their blood pressure, monitor their diabetes and blood glucose readings? So this is where we try to come in to fill the gaps in the healthcare system that's existing. I think what COVID has done is really brought forth the importance of being able to remotely connect to these communities, even if we are not able to physically travel there. So, for example, in India and in Philippines, the lockdown measures were especially harsh. People could not travel between provinces, and we had to really draw on being able to train them remotely through some of the apps that we have. So they were able to download, COVID lessons on their phones, and they could bring it home, like the health workers could bring it home and then do the lesson plans as and when they were able to at their own time. So I think that was some of the solutions that we came up with. And we also tried to promote telemedicine to pregnant mothers, because a lot of them don't want to travel to the hospital now, so they have more comfort actually calling the doctor and making sure that their pregnancy is going smoothly rather than visiting the hospital. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's just interesting to hear how necessity is often the mother of invention. And so the fact that you were able to pivot and be so useful during COVID is wonderful. Thank you so much. It's fascinating. I was doing a session this morning and looking at these two concepts of interconnectedness, which COVID and climate really demonstrate to us. As Gro Harlem Brundtland, who wrote the Brundtland Report about sustainable development all those years ago, says, no one is safe until we're all safe. And then when we think about too, how quickly a pandemic and climate change can wreak havoc if we don't intervene in a timely way. And just thinking about the fact that it took 100 days for the first 1 million cases, and we're now getting a new 1 million cases every 1.5 days. So we're at 32 million cases as of this morning and counting. So I think those two concepts are really interesting. And when we think about the work that Alison is doing and Radhika with relation to saving the planet, we can really see that the women leaders here today are demonstrating the importance of these characteristics, that we know we are all connected on the planet, whether it be plastic in the ocean or the need to regenerate soil or to connect people across technology to ensure that they can stay healthy. So I think these two concepts are really ones that we understand viscerally now, and are ones that help make us want to really be thinking about the environment as part of our work. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce Sasibai Kimi, and she has very kindly said that I can call her Sassy, which is very generous. And Sasibai does incredible work with women who are refugees and also who are from disadvantaged backgrounds in Malaysia. And I'm just so interested to hear more about how you were able to work with these women and to help them create artisanal products, which can then be sold to help their livelihoods. So Sassy, over to you. The floor is
Good morning from Malaysia, everybody. So I founded Earth Air, and we are a social enterprise based in Malaysia. And we focus on three things, which is basically cultural heritage preservation, creating sustainable livelihoods, and building awareness of conscious consumption. So the main premise of how Earth Air started was the fact that fashion is allegedly the second largest polluter after the oil industry in the world. And the artisan sector is, and the artisan sector is supposed to be one of the greatest ways of improving livelihoods after agriculture. So combining these two was how I sort of started Earth Air. And we initially actually started working with artisans in ASEAN and India regions. And now we focus purely on Malaysia. And we've done quite a lot of work with refugees in Malaysia. So Malaysia does not have, is not signed on to the UN Refugee Convention. So refugees in Malaysia don't have any legal rights. They are not allowed to work. So we have been collaborating with UNHCR in Geneva to create a project, a global project called made51.org, which is to enable refugees to earn an income by making designer products, home interiors and fashion and jewelry. So we have been making jewelry with refugee women in Malaysia for the last 3 years. And Malaysia actually has the largest refugee population in Southeast Asia. We have almost 250,000 refugees. And during the COVID pandemic, there was actually a lot of xenophobia against immigrants and refugees. And there was a lot of media attention about calling immigrants and refugees dirty and all kinds of unsavory things. And during that time, we collaborated with a new group of refugees, and we actually worked with about 30 refugees, and we made PPE for Malaysian frontliners. So we made the news because, it was an example of how, refugees are actually helping Malaysians, even if Malaysians are being unkind to them. So we made almost 25,000 pieces of PPE, which were distributed to Malaysian doctors and nurses all throughout the country. So we've pivoted quite a bit in the last 6 months. We've been making a lot of masks, and we're continuing to make reusable face masks, and we're almost going to be making almost 40 to 50,000 masks in the last 2 or 3 months to be distributed to marginalized communities and also communities in need. So yeah, so COVID has been a very interesting time for us because, obviously borders were closed. Malaysian borders are still locked, so I can't leave the country. So I think 2020 will be Malaysia year, and they're not allowing any visitors to Malaysia either. You need special permission. So I think it's been a time of great reflection as well as a business and as an individual, as a citizen of the world, really thinking about what it means to invest in local businesses and local communities and build a resilient business that can survive even when global supply chains are locked. So it's been a great experience, and thank you for having me on this.
Congratulations. Wow, that is impressive with PPE, and just loved your comments about the importance of local and thinking about what we can also all do locally. We'll have our partners speak at the end, but Shanoa Farnsworth, who is the CEO of Blue Planet Startups, is with us, and they support businesses here in Hawaii, but also around the region. And we have the East-West Center Changing Faces program, similarly helping to promote business here and around the region with a special focus on women. And I think what is so interesting too, when you think about the prejudice which refugees and migrants have been subjected to, and we think about that as women, and here we are in 2020, where despite the 1947 Declaration of Human Rights, the commitment to Sustainable Development Goal 5 to empower women and girls in 2015, and the precursor to that, the Millennium Development Goal 3, to do the same thing back in 2000. And yet here we are in 2020, where no country in the world has actually achieved full gender equality. And so we think about that prejudice as it applies to women. And what was fascinating for me was looking at the responses to COVID. And you may have seen some of the very interesting research articles that have been published, where women are only some 8% of world leaders. And we work closely with the Council of Women World Leaders, the current and past women heads of state, prime ministers and presidents. So women are only 8% of world leaders, but they actually contributed 40% of the successful responses to COVID. And I think what is so interesting that all of you exhibit in your business is this compassion and this desire to be collaborative and to work with others and to help uplift others. And I think that's fascinating for me, being originally from New Zealand and seeing our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern talk about the importance of those so-called female values of compassion and collaboration, and saying, you can exhibit those values and still have enormous strength. And I think that's what I'm seeing in all of you as women leaders who have founded or hold very senior positions in innovative companies that are really reaching out and exhibiting those values of compassion and collaboration, as well as incredible strength at this difficult time. So I'm hoping that's going to change the paradigm at the international political level as well. I am now going to move to do just a couple of slides for Brianne West, who's on her Air New Zealand plane right now. And Brianne and I met actually at the East-West Centre about 3 years ago, was it, Liz? And Brianne at that stage was making her product in her kitchen with her mom. So it's a really interesting story. She's the founder and CEO of Ethique, which is the French word for ethical. And she was studying chemistry at university and was horrified, as is Radhika, about plastic waste. She read a statistic that in New Zealand, 100 million plastic shampoo and conditioner bottles were thrown away in a single year. And we only have 5 million people in New Zealand. So she was horrified and went and did some research and found that there are 80 billion with a B, plastic shampoo and conditioner bottles thrown out each year. And so she was at home having a shower and thinking, oh my goodness, it's terrible. Look at my plastic bottle. I'm contributing to the problem. And then she looked at her bar of soap and she was like, why do I have a bottle of shampoo? I'm a chemist. I know that actually what is in this plastic bottle is mostly water. So why don't I think about bars? And that was really how her business began. And when we met her, she won a scholarship that I have at the East-West Centre each year to the wonderful program called Changing Faces that Liz Dawn and Sarah Lamb, who are on with us, run. And that was where I first met Brianne. And so now we're going to give you a little bit of an update. Double click on the screen to maximize so you can actually see the slides. And Chloe, if you can take us through those slides. So here's some quick facts on the business. And here's a little bit of background about Brianne. I'm hoping everybody can see that. And so here's the problem that she sets out with plastic waste and how little is recycled, only 9%. The fact that now 9 out of 10 fish are found with plastic waste. And I go to the World Economic Forum in Davos every year, and it is really shocking. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which has been promoting circular economy, published some data last year, which showed us that there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean if we keep on our current trajectory. And of course, actually, Sasi, the latest data is that the fashion industry just overtook the oil industry as the largest polluter globally. But what is fascinating is while we are moving to renewable energy as an energy source, companies like ExxonMobil have announced that they expect to increase their output by 25% over the next 10 years on the basis of increased demand for single-use plastics. So we as consumers need to stop that. And one of our partners, Jen Nielsen from EcoWorld, just previous to ours, had a fabulous session on some of the innovative businesses that are trying to stop that. So next slide, Chloe. Thank you. And you can see here some of the dimensions of sustainability, and we'll move forward. And this shows you the ingredients, what is used, what isn't used, and coconut oil. I wanted to show this particular slide because this came about actually as part of the collaboration. And so through Vital Voices, our co-lead, and the East-West Centre, we were able to bring Brianne together with Andi Tafunai, who has served as an advisor to the East-West Centre and is also involved with Vital Voices Global Partnership, together in a program in Australia. And by dint of that, Brianne is now importing her virgin coconut oil from Andi's group of grassroots women entrepreneurs in Samoa. And Andi also supplies the world's biggest contract to the Body Shop. So it's so exciting to see what can be done when we take Sasi's point about really trying to help local and then also export. And I think next slide and last slide. So I wanted to finish on this one, and it's really a story that I hope is something that we can all take to heart. when we talk about éthique in the press, the first one that comes up there is Forbes. And that was because one of our colleagues at the East West Center happened to have a daughter who wrote for Forbes Women. And she had said to me, oh, Amanda, anytime that you find interesting women-owned businesses, send them to me and I'll feature them in Forbes Women. So that's an offer to everybody. And so Meme featured Brianne and Éthique. And I got this panicked message from Brianne to say, oh my gosh, my website just crashed. And it turned out that Britney Spears and Ashton Kutcher had picked up the Forbes Women article and reposted it on social media. And social media had blown up Brianne's website. So she then went offline. But fast forward, she is now the world's first full zero waste cosmetics line. And she's here in the US in Walgreens. She's in the UK in Hardee's. And she has now got an annual turnover of some 13 million. I visited one of her factories in Australia, in New Zealand, in Christchurch. She now has 2 factories. So I think that's something that we as women need to learn, that we need to help promote each other, tell each other's stories, and be able to create a multiplier impact for success. And Jen Nielsen, a big shout out to you with Echo World. You do such a wonderful job telling the stories on your website. And I know that you're featuring all of our Asia Pacific awardees. And this is a perfect segue for me to our wonderful partners. And I would like to invite each one of you just to come on and say, now I'm just wondering, Chloe, can we make that happen? Can we allow our partners to come on and say a few words?
Yes, so if they request access, yep, so we have Liz.
Perfect. So Liz, please go first from the East West Center Changing Faces program. Tell us about.
I think they're just going to take the time to set up their videos and audio. So maybe we'll start with Chenoa.
Awesome. So I'm thrilled to introduce Chenoa Farnsworth, who is the CEO and founder of Blue Startups here in Hawaii. Chenoa, over to you.
Aloha, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, that was worth some great and inspiring stories and companies. We're really excited to work with companies like yours, actually, at Blue Startups. So Blue Startups is a venture accelerator. We're located here in Honolulu. We're entering into our 8th year of business. So we have now invested in 90 companies around the globe, most of them located here in Hawaii, but a good 40% of them located elsewhere. So we do invest in both local and non-local startups. We have a couple areas of focus, all in the realm of scalable, high-growth companies, mostly technology-based. We look for companies that address issues of sustainability and also companies that are in the software industry, companies that are in the travel and tourism industry as well. We also have an East-West focus. So I know this is the PAC Rim focus, APAC focus panel. So that's great for us. We sponsor a conference every year called East Meets West, which it brings together entrepreneurs and investors from both sides of the Pacific. Amanda has been one of our moderators there, and a fantastic job that she did. So really trying to showcase Hawaii as a place where East and West meet for business, and really highlight that natural aspect that we have from both our culture and time zone advantages. So if you're interested in getting in touch with me, bluestartups.com. We're very easy to find online. I'm pretty responsive to anyone that gets in touch with me, so you can find me as well on LinkedIn. And if I can be helpful to any of you on your entrepreneurial journey, we really love investing in female founders as well. So that's definitely another priority for us. So we always have a goal of investing in more and more female founders. It's difficult in the technology space, but we're getting there. So yeah, reach out. Thank you.
Oh, Amanda, we lost your audio. If you can try to just unmute and mute again. Yep, please hear you now.
It's decided that I'm talking too much and it keeps taking me off. So thank you so much, Shanoa. You do such fantastic work with Blue Startups, and hopefully there might be an opportunity for some of our wonderful We Empower winners to be engaged as well. The three aims of the competition are really to honor and uplift the women who are engaged in promoting the Sustainable Development Goals through their business, and to invest in you in so many different ways, and to ignite others to follow suit. So I'm thrilled now to introduce Louise Ng, who is a partner here in Denton's, which is the largest law firm in the world now, right, Louise? And Louise did a fabulous job for us last year when we were all in New York in person together. And Denton's will be running a session to help you all at some stage later, given that we're all virtual now. So Louise, love you to say a few words about the work that you and Denton's do. Thank you.
Sure, Amanda. Thank you very much, and aloha, everybody, and congratulations to the finalists and awardee. We at Denton's are so happy to be involved in this program. In the Honolulu office where I work, we are almost 50% women. And I'd say that for all of our offices, it's probably one of the best gender balanced offices that we have. But as a whole, as Amanda said, Denton's is not only the largest law firm, but we have a global presence. And so the fact that we have that presence and really support diversity and women in business, leadership, and entrepreneurship really aligns with the goals of We Empower, which is why this program resonated so much with us. And it's also why back in last year in New York, we were so happy to be able to present a business law toolkit presentation to the 5 awardees of the competition and some of the other folks involved with the We Empower program. And it was also very exciting to then have dinner with women from Vital Voices and so many other supporters of this program. So we hope that we'll be able to play a part this year again in helping the women awardees and perhaps even finalists. And we also, if you check our website, Denton's, just look up Denton's Law Firm, we have a number of things that might be of interest, or you can have Amanda contact me, but we have, for instance, a WOW series, women seminars for women on different aspects of doing business as women. We have a Women Lead program, which helps develop leadership in women both within the firm and outside the firm. And we also have a new dynamic web hub, and it tries to consolidate all kinds of information that we're dealing with these days as we try to figure out coordinated responses and how to move beyond the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So again, thank you very much. We're proud to sponsor, and so great to see everybody.
Mahalo. Thank you so much, Louise, for the wonderful work that you all do. And we will absolutely be following up. That sounds amazing. A WOW series, Women Lead, and a web hub. So all sorts of great ideas there. I am seeing that Liz is unable to get on. So Liz, if you want to just put some details in the chat about where people can find information for your program next year. And I'll just say a few words about it. It's a short 2-week residential program here in Hawaii, and you would be matched with a woman mentor from a business here in Hawaii. So Liz will be giving you some information in the chat, and I highly recommend that program as well. It is specifically for the Asia Pacific, given the East-West Center's mission. So thank you so much, Liz. And I'm seeing Lauren Roth-Manu. I'm excited. So Lauren will be featured. She is, I'm calling her my mentee, Shanoa, on your program. But Lauren and I are doing something together. She's doing an event on the global platform for the Global Compact as well. So Lauren, you might want to put the details of your event into the chat as well, so people can attend if the time zone is right, given that we're a 24-hour program. Now, I'm wondering, we have also Jen Nielsen from Echo World. Chloe, is she able to get on?
Jen, if you just request to share your audio and video, we can bring you on, but the request hasn't come through yet.
Okay, so while she's doing that, let me tell you a little bit about her platform because I'm thinking it could be very useful for all of you. So Jen has a platform called Echo World, and she started off calling it Over the Back Fence. And it was very much Sassy's idea about helping local and helping local entrepreneurs who were green entrepreneurs. And it's since really, really grown and now is a fabulous website which is helping connect these social entrepreneurs and environmental entrepreneurs to others. Now, what is so interesting to me about Echo World too is that Jen is developing something which, Shanoa, maybe she needs to talk to you about. It's AI, and it's with the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology to figure out the planet price so that as data gets aggregated about companies, we know there's always greenwash. But how do we actually tell who is really doing the right thing and who is greenwashing? And Jen is going to come up soon. She's here, so we'll see if we can get her on. And that whole idea of planet price, I think, is one that would be fabulous for many of our businesses who are really supporting the SDGs through their businesses, and for we consumers that want to be buying from companies that are really helping to save the planet, not helping contribute to the problems. So, Jen, are you able to get on? I know this is a tricky planet and a tricky platform.
Here she comes.
Hello. Hi there. Can you hear me? Oh, you can. Right. Hello. Apologies. I ran off. I'm back. Amanda, I'm sorry. I had to take a call. You were talking about the Echo score, the planet score, and you'd like me to explain it. I'm so sorry. I missed it. Okay. Yes, essentially, it is product driven, by the way, and there's a very good reason for that. And it is that there's a lot that goes on at an organisational level in terms of measuring organisations, as I'm sure you would know. This is more of, it's like a balanced scorecard at a product level, and it does a couple of things. It means that just because a company markets itself as being good doesn't mean it isn't accountable for each of its products. On the other hand, one of the things I've come to learn in this sustainability movement is that even organisations that you think are evil actually make good products. So, you know, if a product is good, even though the owner's not so much, you know, then the market should have access to that particular product. So that's why we score against 10 standards, 5 environmental and 5 societal. And it basically means that, I'll give you a really good example of what it picks up on. Although, are there any vegans in the audience? Just so I know who I'm offending. Nope, okay, good. Oh, well, I don't know about out there, but at least in the panel. So essentially, one of the things that happens a lot is that a product might be vegan. And it's marketed as vegan, and it's marketed for its virtues across a whole range of great environmental certifications or standards, but it often contains palm oil. Now, and the chance of that happening are 1 in 2, because half of the products, essentially beauty products and food, contain palm oil. And also, when you start taking things like beeswax, etc., out of foods, they're often replaced with palm oil. Now, the question becomes, is it okay to be vegan but tip a orangutan out of its home? You see, so essentially what the Echo score or the planet score is seeking to do is basically say, yes, this is vegan, but you also need to be accountable for the rest of the value chain or relevance, and declare that as well. So most products essentially play up their virtues and play down their not less virtuous side. I think about it a bit like putting on makeup, especially as I get older, because I get more makeup to And you know what I'm saying? And anyway, it's like playing up virtues. And essentially we're saying we want to know everything. Is that explained? Amanda, we can't hear you.
Yep, we can hear you now, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Jen, and we'll be delighted if you could put in the chat when you think this is going to be ready, because we're wanting to start using this Planet Score. I am going to come back to all of our panelists now. We know the data around gender equality, which I shared with you, and our lead partner, Vital Voices, is really very active across the world in trying to amplify women's voices. Their motto is invest in women, improve the world. So we'd love to come back around, do another round, and just hear from each of you your experience as a woman in business. So Alison, beginning with you in a very non-traditional area.
I do work in a very non-traditional area, Amanda. So I work across the construction, waste and mining industries. And, you know, I'm extremely fortunate to live in a country like Australia that does treat women very, very well compared to many other places in the world. But construction, waste and mining are 3 out of the 4 most male-dominated industries in Australia. So to give you an example, in the construction industry, women make up just 3% of frontline roles. So it's pretty rare for me to see too many women on site, and it's definitely rare for a woman to be running a construction business and telling engineers how to do their jobs better. So it's been an interesting learning process for me, both in taking 3 very large industries on a sustainability journey that they weren't really overly keen to start, but also in helping women to enter these industries. I ended up here accidentally. I don't think there's too many little girls who grow up and dream of wearing fluoro orange and steel cap boots to work. So I ended up here accidentally, but when we've got sort of young kids in schools who maybe aren't all that great at school, so much of the time we send the girls off to do hairdressing or childcare, and we send the boys off to do a trade, go and be an electrician or a plumber. And so we send the boys into the 3rd highest paying industry in the country doing a trade. We send the girls into some of our lowest paying industries. So for soil cyclers, we run a trainee plant operator program where we encourage young women who've never had the opportunity before to learn to operate machinery and to enter those higher paying industries and have some of those different jobs. So that's one of the ways that we're contributing to making our industry a better place, not just for women, but for everyone who works in that industry. That extra diversity and those better communication skills and all of the flexible work practices that the industry is introduced in an effort to try and attract and retain women, they are making it a better place. So I'll hand back to you, Amanda, and I'd love to hear some of the other stories from our other finalists.
Fantastic, thank you. And you're such a great role model, Alison. Thank you so much. So moving now to Radhika. You're also in construction. Tell us a little bit about your experience in India, which does have a reputation. When we look at the data, India and China are the 2 that have very unequal populations because this female infanticide still practiced. And in the old days, of course, women had to throw themselves on the funeral pyre if their husbands died before them. So even though you've had a number of women heads of state, India can be very challenging from a gender perspective. Tell us about your personal experience.
Sorry, Radhika, can you make sure you're unmuted?
Can you hear me now? Great. So I was saying that I echo the sentiments of Alison when she spoke about women in the construction industry. My company has more than 100 people and I'm the only woman. So it does get a little bit tricky, but I'm glad that the new generation of India we're more educated, exposed to what is happening around the world, and give the women a chance. And I think my personal motto is to make new mistakes, so never to repeat the old one. And I think it just makes navigating business as a woman entrepreneur easier. Yeah, over to you, Amanda.
And now moving to Li Jen, who is in tech. And we know the data for women in tech are very low, depending on which country, but usually around 1 in 5. So tell us your experience.
Yeah, I think being in the tech space is really exciting. Looking inwards at our own company, I think almost actually 40% of our staff are women. So we of course have a gender-free lens when doing hiring, which I myself is very involved in as a COO. I think being a woman in this space, especially at healthcare, and also empowering the women within our communities to provide them with good quality jobs is something that, as a woman, it's easier for me to relate to. One of the programs that we run is actually gender-based violence. So we work with IQVIA to increase the awareness of gender-based violence in the community, which because of COVID has also came up quite a bit. So we've gotten like Facebook messaging, chat tools. We started a helpline for women who will reach out to us if they have any issues. We also train women in the community to kind of identify these signs, keep a lookout for their neighbors and their friends, or even themselves, because there may be many misconceptions about what is gender-based violence, or even worse, in some of the communities, they actually think it's normal, or they are not really willing to share it. So I think being a woman allows me to identify more closely with the residents and the communities that we work with across the range of programs. So I think it's a good thing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that important work. And now, Sassy, you are working with a whole range of communities where intersectionality is really a big dimension. It's not just being a woman, but it's the migrant issue, the refugee issue, the Indigenous issue. So tell us a little bit about your experience and the experience of the disadvantaged communities you're trying to help.
So I am an ex-investment banker. Sorry, can you hear
Sassy, I know it's difficult with manipulating, so if you could try just to come off mute again.
Oh, Amanda, we can hear her.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, so I think when I first started Earth there was definitely a perception that what we are doing, as in working with fashion and working with artisans, and it's a very female thing to be doing. And in fact, I think it was quite difficult to be taken seriously as a business, I think, initially. And so for me, it was sort of like the reverse initially. Being a bank, coming from an industry in finance where I was often the only female in the boardroom, and then coming to start a social enterprise where it's thought of as a generally female kind of sector to be working in. So I think for me, as a minority social entrepreneur in Malaysia, it's really been about speaking out for voices that don't really get recognized, and being able to change mindsets about marginalized communities. So in Malaysia, refugees and the Indigenous people are probably the most marginalized, without access to resources and livelihood opportunities. So being able to speak out for that has been, a great positive feeling in my heart about my life. And I think I'm actually very interested in what Alison and Radhika are doing as well, because my dad passed away last year, and Dad has a railway construction firm. So now I spend half my time actually surrounded by more than 200 men and telling engineers how to do things, and working in the railway sector. So so I think part about being human is about being adaptable, whether you're male or female. And so I think what I'm really kind of seeing now in my life is, working with marginalized communities on one side, and then also working in sustainable transportation, because I actually believe that the railway sector is a low carbon form of transportation. And it's a great way to reduce carbon in the world. So yeah, so that's kind of what I've been focusing on, and what I've been sort of speaking out for in Malaysia.
That Yoshi Fujiwara is saying we're preparing to collaborate with you for the Japanese market. So stay in touch. So you have a fan already. Now I'm seeing that there aren't any specific questions in the chat. So I would like us to all leave the audience with one piece of advice that you would have for others who are thinking about starting up their own business that could help promote the SDGs. And Sasi, I love that. The great positive feeling in my heart about my life. We all want to leave people with that great positive feeling in our hearts about our lives and the contributions that we're making at this very difficult time, where we all want to be hopeful and optimistic and know that we can make a difference. So I would love to turn it back to you. And to just before we start, so I'm giving you a little bit of time to think, each of you, there is going to be the next session is on ethical circular economy, and it's going to feature one of our awardees from the Greater MENA region, Sarah El Batouhi from Egypt. So she has developed, she's an architect, and she's developed a circular business in furniture as an adjunct. So if you want to stay on, you can press the next session and participate in that as well, and get to know yet another one of your global fellow awardee and finalists. Alison, over to you. What final words of wisdom do you have to leave us with?
Sure. I, as someone who works in a very non-traditional industry, I would say to other women, don't be afraid to be different, and make sure you realize that that difference can actually be your strength.
Don't be afraid to be different, and realize that that difference can actually be your strength. Radhika. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say listen to your gut, make passion your work, and make new mistakes.
Amanda, I think your audio cut out again. Sorry.
Radhika, just tell us the last piece of that. You said, listen to your gut, make passion your work. And what was the last one?
And make new mistakes.
And make new mistakes. Oh,
Every
I love
time.
that. Great. Thank you so much. Hey, Jen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. You're up.
Yeah, I think for myself, it's really daring to dream big. I think it's not easy being a female entrepreneur, but with a good team around you, I think it would make the journey a lot easier. Also, to speak to different mentors. I think there are people with so much experience out there that have great ideas and great learnings to share with you. So I think that would shortcut your learning curve very rapidly.
So true, and that's why we have this wonderful cohort of partners on our journey with the We Empower family. And Sasi, you have the last word.
I think for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is to stay in your lane, and not compare yourself to others in a different lane, because everyone's journey is different. And as long as you keep doing what you believe in and what you know is right, you will reach the finish line.
way to end this incredible session. On behalf of the Julianne Wrigley Global Futures Laboratory at Arizona State University and all of our We Empower partners, Vital Voices, Denton's, East West Center, Changing Faces Program, Blue Planet Startups, and Echo World here with us tonight. Thank you to our incredible entrepreneurs, Alison, Radhika, Lijen, Sasi, and Brian, who was with us in spirit. We hope you will join us for the Circular Economy panel next, and we will have this recording available for you all to use for your purposes as well as on our website. So thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you again over the next couple of days at the UN Global Compact. Aloha, everybody from Hawaii. Bye.
Thank you, Amanda. Nice meeting everybody.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all
everybody.
too.
Chloe, bye.
Thanks, Chloe.
Got my photo.
Oh, awesome. That's great. See you at the next session.
Bye, Cassie. Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe. Thank you.